The sniping immortal of Pokemon Unite, the hunter, the marksman. Decidueye is a sharpshooting icon. He lurks in the shadow, engaging their enemies with a barrage of deadly Spirit Shackle. Spiritual Wings of Fly, the supreme nature of this Pokemon, will never die. Use this Pokemon well, and you'll be rewarded by dealing 100k with an insane ratio every single game. Let's have a look at the build. You can see the emblem set there, a lot of synergies, and then you've also got the X Speed Float Stone to get in the position, and the Muscle Band, the Focus Band, because you want to be giving yourself presence and sustain at every single fight, because you can definitely do that with Decidueye. Lots and lots of value. So first thing I want to talk about with this jungle clear is you proc that X Speed as soon as you get let out of the gates, because that thing's going to be back on cooldown exactly when you need it at about the 9-10 mark. Then when you're clearing the jungle, here you can see I'm wanting to chain those basic attacks by stuffed it up. So you can see every time you hit a basic, underneath your health bar, you've got those 4 things, and then if you look in the bottom right corner, you can see the counter going down. So every time you use a basic attack, it stacks, and you're hitting 4 kind of basic attacks at once rather than 1, but they're dealing a little less damage, but that's okay because there's 4 of them, and then you can see the counter goes away after a certain amount of time. So now, right here, your Flowstone kicks in, you've got the Salac Berries, you want to be ganking the lane that needs some help. I personally like to keep it as a 3v3, but if one lane's getting destroyed, then I'll go help that lane. And I really want to help this lane get online because I've got a Greninja, and I know if the Greninja gets online, we can get a lot of value. But typically I like to keep it a 3v3, so I felt really bad for my top lane there because they had the 2v3. Now, I was a little bit annoyed here because my team decided to score instead of trying to pick up that kill on the Slowbro. If we got the kill, I would have been able to score, get a big amount of experience, so I was very frustrated with my team. The Crustals come down to leave, and that's not great. And you want to be back in this jungle by the 8-minute 30 mark. You see I'm back down a little late because I overstayed trying to pick up that kill, but that's totally fine. I just know I didn't get enough value out of that bottom gank, so I'm not going to have Spirit Shackle, but you want to be back to those buffs as soon as possible, because you can see here the 8-minute mark's coming up, and you need to be at that middle farm. You can't give it away to the other team. So you can see I'm a little bit late because I got to my buffs a little bit late, and I don't quite have Spirit Shackles. I play it smart, I play passive, I try and get a little bit of experience there, which I was super lucky, and now I've got that level 7. And this is where you become the sniping god. Here you can see I'm scanning both lanes. I've got that Float Stone kicking in, so I'm able to get to whichever lane needs my help the most. And you've got that Spirit Shackle, so you can just put massive pressure, especially super early on in the lane. You can execute big kills, and you can force them back. You can see here I'm poking the bush. That's one thing Decidueye does amazing, is that you're forcing the enemy to get out of position that they want to be in. And then here you can see what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to attack the farm and the enemy. I'm not trying to kill the enemy. I'm trying to secure the farm with Spirit Shackle and deal damage to the enemy. So you'll notice every time I'm in a lane, that's a lot of times what I'm looking to do if there's not an engaged team fight. So here my Cramorant's engaged well. He's done a lot of damage. He sacrificed himself, and I'm so glad he did. He had the trust in me to be able to clean up. So we keep that top lane safe. Do a couple buffs because I'm going down to that bottom objective because I can see that's where my team is. Although I'd like to be in the top lane for this first objective, that's okay. I'm going to play with my team because that's what we need to do in the solo queue. So as soon as you hit your level 8 and your level 9, you need to be keeping the maximum distance away from enemies, but you have to be present in the fight. Because the way Decidueye works is the further away you are from the enemy, you're going to be dealing some extra damage. That's what his passive ability does. And then you also notice with that Spirit Shackle Plus, you're going to be doing additional damage as like execution when they're under 50% health. So you've got that long reach ability, which does an extra percent of damage, and that's amazing. Now note for when you're farming, you want to let those Spirit Shackles charge up. The only time you farm for like free farm with Spirit Shackle is when you're hitting a group of bees, because his basics can just shred through single target farm very quickly, but it might take a little bit on the bees, so you do big Spirit Shackle damage. Again, you can see here, I'm going to put damage on them, but I'm looking to line them up between the bees, or those Arterias, and them. So I'm trying to do some damage there. You can see as soon as I see that Buzzwole Unite, I'm running away. I'm trying to get maximum distance away. Now at this point in the video, I want to talk about the title that I've referenced, which is you're going to be able to see 273.5% more of the map using this character. It's got to do with Spirit Shackle. I've paused, I've got a rectangle there. Now you can see as you expand out, that faded rectangle is what once was. Okay, now let's talk through some of the math, because as you can see in the title, you are able to see 273.5% more of the map with Decidueye. That's almost 3 times the amount of space on the map you're able to see when you're charging up that Spirit Shackle. The amount of map you get to see is so much. Okay, so again, these are arbitrary units, but percentages work with arbitrary numbers, so we're cool with that. We don't need to calculate the exact pixels. Again, this is a little bit rough, so it's probably not exact figures. There's probably someone on Math Cord who's got the exact figures, so if you know that, please drop a comment. That'd be awesome to get the exact figure, but you see a lot more of the map. Now you argue, oh, who cares about that and that and that and that and that? Okay, sure, there's a lot of space that you don't care about, but there's a large amount of space here. Like that space there is almost the equivalent to like probably a third almost of what you'd originally see, and you get that additionally just for charging up your Spirit Shackle. So that is a lot of vision that you get. If you're enjoying this informative video on Decidueye in Pokemon Unite, then I'd really appreciate it if you could subscribe and give this video a like, because I put quite a bit of thought process into making this video and a lot of editing and time has gone into it. So if you're finding a bit of value out of it, I'd appreciate it if you could show me a little bit of love. Now this brings me into the perfect point with Decidueye's Unite move. It's really tricky to get right. It's really tricky to get a lot of value with it. You can easily die if you're in the wrong position. But if you use it correctly with your team, okay, there is the prerequisite that you need your team to use the Unite move properly. Okay, but the top lane is pretty much, that's the go-to throughout the game. But I'm going to talk through again on a side note, just kind of whiteboarding what I think is the best way to use Decidueye's Unite move in Pokemon Unite. And so when we consider the positioning of Decidueye when we're using a Unite move, there's a couple of places where you want to use it. So one place you want to use it is when you're pushing down their top side. And there are a couple of places. So if you're trying to push this base here, you want to be standing about there, because that's going to force the enemies. The way they're going to be able to get to you is you're going to be able to see them coming up through there, in which case you've got plenty of time to be able to cancel your Unite move. They're going to have to run through here. Again, you've got plenty of time to cancel your Unite move. Now, typically you're uniting on a group of them. You're not seeing one person and you're uniting. You know there's going to be 1, 2, 3, and then possibly even someone there or someone there, right? So you generally, when you pick your Unite, you have a very good idea of where the whole team is. So you're not going to be surprised attacked by someone over there. Okay, that's generally not going to happen. So you want to rip this Unite move and fire it off. I'll just show it in a green here. Oh, that's a bad color. I'll show it in a blue here. You want to fire it. Well, that's also a bad color. Let's go black. You want to fire it off here. So you're hitting those enemies there. You can change your position if you need to execute an enemy, or you can just shoot over this wall into their jungle as well if your team decides to take the fight in there. So you've got a lot of utility when you're using your Unite move to push the top lane. Now with the second base, I'm going to erase this here. So with the second base, you're going to be uniting about here. Now this is always going to be a little riskier. However, you want to get some value out of it. So you're going to be, again, this is when you've got to unite with the team. Okay, Decidueye's Unite sucks if you have a team where they don't want to push. So that's a big weakness about them. But if your team's pushing a Lecky, and there's a couple here and here and here, then you can get massive value. Or even if you see them doing a jungle clear here and here, because the way that they have to get you is they've got to push through your team there, or they have to run around here, but in which case you'll have vision, and you can cancel your Unite move if you absolutely have to and dart back with the X speed and the Shadow Sneak. But generally your team's got your back if someone's trying to make a move on you there. So that helps just force big damage out there. And remember, the further away you are with his ability, with his Unite move, the more damage it's going to do. So you want to keep maximum damage onto that base. So you want to be as far back as possible for maximum safety and maximum damage output. Now this is going to force the enemies to stand off the base. Okay, they're going to have to stand here, here, and here. okay, even in their own jungle. And that way, so they either have to stand on their base and defend the Lecky, or the Lecky goes in and you get value out of it. And even if you don't get a kill, it's just the mere presence of using that Unite move. So top lane is definitely a place where I'd be using Decidueye's Unite move. Another place is if you are going to take this fight here, down in the bottom. Okay, if you're pushing this base here, if you're pushing this one right here, and you're trying to get a bit of value onto this base, I think the best spot to use it is right about there, because you're forcing the enemy to run in the most weird, like they have to run through your damage to get to you. Okay, they've got to run down here and around if they want to get to you, or run around there if they want to get to you, and not being smashed by the damage. And the time it takes them to do that, and the vision your team's going to have on them, generally, again, there's a bit of you're relying on your team, but a lot of the time is you're firing off your Unite move when you see 2 or 3 of them. You're not firing it off to kill a Mammothine. Okay, you're firing it off to do a lot of damage to a large group. So generally, for someone to be able to do a sweep attack, unless if it's a Greninja using a Unite move and smashing with Surf, a lot of the time you're good. Okay, yes, there's going to be annoying Talonflame flies over the top. It's like, okay, that can happen, but generally Talonflame is not going to be in a good position, and your team should be able to help dive, and you can dart back, and you can just stay in the fight. And generally with a focus band, you'll be able to live because you've got that increased mobility and the X speed and the Shadow Sneak. So you should be able to pivot away. Okay, so in the bottom lane, that's another place. Now when you're picking your Rayquaza Fight, this one's always tricky because the enemies generally like to sit there and sit here. Okay, now this is case number 1. I'm going to put a little 1 there. Your best place to fire off is you've got to step in a little bit. You've got to be about there. If you're further back, you're not going to be hitting that. They can just step away and disengage the fight, and it's a completely wasted Unite move. So you've got to step in a little bit so that you can hit about to the edge of that arrow there. You want to force them right back. Okay, and that way, once the fight's engaged, they can't, so you're firing that Unite move off, you wait for your tank to engage, and the moment you see the team fight breaking out, you have to smash them with that damage. You have the responsibility as a Decidueye to be doing that. Okay, so that's case number 1. Case number 2, now this is ideal, is when they sit up around here. Okay, because now in this case, in case number 1, they can sweep around here and smash you. They can just death ball you, so it's really risky. So a lot of the times you might actually have to cancel it, especially if you're on solo queue, because your team's not going to respond. And if they see the attack damage carry far off their Unite move in a risky spot and they're able to capitalize, you've got to be comfortable with just canceling that Unite move and running the other way, because your presence at that end fight is so important. You must be alive. So for case number 2, you want to be about here. Okay, and I'll explain why you don't want to be further back. Because if you're further back, I'm going to put it further back here, and you're trying to fire off damage through here, you're not going to be hitting the enemies, you're going to be hitting the Rayquaza. Because the Unite move damage doesn't pierce through enemies, it hits the first enemy. It's only that last final fire off like a Spirit Shackle that pierces the enemies. So you don't want to be that far back. Okay, you definitely don't want to be doing that. You want to be standing around about, let me just get rid of that. You want to be standing about here. That way, when you're firing through and firing up here, you're not going to be having to hit through the Rayquaza, right? That's, again, it's like you don't want to, this is a no-go zone. Don't Unite there at the Rayquaza Fight. And you can't Unite move from back here. You don't get any value out of it. You can't Unite move from back here. Unless if your team is getting absolutely throttled, you can take a step back and fire off a Unite, but you want to be aggressive with it. You want to engage the fight aggressively to give your team the best positioning possible. Okay, so those are the spots that I would be using a Unite move with Decidueye. So hitting our gameplay back here with Decidueye, you're looking to do some shred to an objective, but you're also looking to poke, right? You can see it's like there's an enemy. So how about let's just poke them out of position. Now, our Greninja's done well to secure that. I wasn't really on the ball there, so definitely a bit of a mistake from me there. Okay, now we're looking to push the Lecky, but your job as the jungler is you've got to be able to communicate when it's never worth pushing, because a lot of the time you can just have the presence to see if it goes in, but take their farm, but never over push. Because if you over push and die, you're going to give up a lot of farm. So you don't want to do that. So you can see here they've killed it. Our team's looking like they're overcommitting. I'm just going, okay, maybe not worth it. Let's get out. We probably shouldn't have gone that deep. So I'm calling, hey, Eldegoss, how about let's get out of there? And we don't, because if we die, we're giving up all this farm that I'm getting right now. They would have gotten it, plus the catch-up experience of getting kills on us. So it's like, it's a big no-no. So here I'm getting dived. I proc that X speed because it's like, do not die at this point. You're ahead. Let's stay ahead. We don't want to give them that catch-up experience. Okay. Similar drill. It's like with the Lucario, when you're using Lucario, if you get ahead, stay ahead. Because if they catch up to you, you're going to have to just play so well. Okay, these high skill characters. So again, another mistake from me. I should have been way more on the ball with stopping that Buzzwole. I know he's trying to stack, so I should not have taken that buff. That was a big misplay from me. And I'm just kind of lucky that, you know, he didn't get more stacks in really. Now here, this Buzzwole is going deep. Now I know I can survive here if I just keep going back. I choose to fight because I think I can kill him, but I don't. So that's a huge kill for that Buzzwole. You can see he got big levels off of that. And I'm out for 30 seconds, which is a long, like I could be farming right now, but now I'm dead. And I'm also dead, but the Buzzwole also got a lot of catch-up experience. That's a big negative outcome for me. So you definitely don't want to be doing that, and I definitely don't want to be doing that again. I should have kept running back. I noticed my team was dead, so I should have just played it safe and not gotten greedy to try and get the kill and just kept going back to go to safety. And I'm trying to just hound my team. Hang on, guys, hang on. Wait for me to get there. And I'm coming up. I'm looking to engage the fight here, and it kind of looks like it's already underway. So here it's like, all right, I'm not looking to kill. I'm just looking to stop score. I'm just getting to safety. And I can see that Espeon tries to run away, but we're able to secure the kill with that Spirit Shackle. This Slowbro is going to try and run away, but the Buzzwole's jumped in and done a really good job. And the Buzzwole is pretty out of position here. There's a lot of damage on him, so he dies. So now we're at this Rayquaza fight, and again, I've talked through where to use that Unite move. I'm scouting with that Shadow Sneak, and it's a case of don't die, stay in position. My Crustle goes off the score, which is fine, so it kind of leaves us with a 4v4. The Slowbro does so well to get a hold of me, and I definitely should have died there. So I'm just playing it safe because their tanks are diving deep, and their tanks are playing so well. So our team, we're not playing well, so I'm forced to use that Unite move from a pretty passive position, but you want to use it in a position where you don't have to go through the Rayquaza. Then we're forcing them back out of position, so we're able to get aggressive positioning, and I can just follow up with some big damage. You can see that Mamoswine goes for the bush. I know exactly where I'm going to fire my Shackle. We're forcing that Buzzwole back, and now I've got 2 dead, 1 just respawned. We get the Espeon, so it's like, okay, we've definitely got the advantage here. We've got the Rip, so we just look to secure this objective while we've got the chance to. Now, I definitely didn't do well there. I should not let that Rayquaza attack me. But we get the objective and we clean up the game. So hopefully this is some insightful gameplay in how you want to use Decidueye in Pokemon Unite from A to Z, how you use this character, how you want to approach using a Unite move, how you want to approach the early phase, the laning phase, the item build. Again, I'm going to talk about the attack weight. Could you use the attack weight on Decidueye? I think it's a really bad idea, because Decidueye, he should be lurking in the shadows. He should be doing immense damage from a distance. If you're getting stacks, yes, you're going to do more damage, but you're putting yourself out of position to get the stack. And so if you're in a losing position, you're not going to get the value. So here you can see you should be the ratio of 104k to 17k taken. If you're using Decidueye, you should be having this ratio where you're dealing immense amount of damage, and you should be dealing the most and taking the least every single time if you're using this character properly, even if you're playing in a competitive context, unless if it's like the top elite. If you're just playing community, you absolutely should be able to do this.